this is a yes or no question. So quickly, we'll just go through each one of you. We'll start with you, Mr. Huffines. Yes or no? Do you support a referendum on the ballot that says, quote, the state of Texas shall reassert its status as an independent nation?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yeah, I like that.
Mr. Prather.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
And in the end, across so many other issues, we believe in putting the question of Texas independence back in the hands of the people and let the people decide what the political future of Texas is.
And America should not have shut down. Texas didn't shut down.
Nope.
And we kept going, and that's why we have a great, strong economy. Lower your property taxes. And we're going to get that done.
A report by the House Ways and Means Committee predicted many homeowners would see taxes increase regardless.
But this session, We are going to take a major step in reducing your property taxes because people need to be able to afford to live in their homes and operate their businesses without being taxed out of them. We will pass major property tax relief.
I studied the property tax plans for about 50 governments, cities, counties, and school districts, and I could hardly find any that aren't raising taxes.
As your lieutenant governor, I will pass legislation to cut property taxes again next session. This is a great day for homeowners and business owners who are sick and tired of seeing their property taxes go up 7, 8, 9, 10% or more every year. Those days are over.
Here's your stimulus check for $1,200 and here's your bill for $4,000 for your property tax.
This is fun.
Come join the campaign. Let's take Texas back. Thank you.
Well, the people in power, whether red or blue, could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.
right. Good evening, everyone. I am Daniel Miller, and welcome to Late Night Coffee Talk. This is, for those of you that are uninitiated, this is my weekly decompress session. It's not a show. It's just me, a cup of coffee, and all of you talking about what's happened over the last week and what's kind of on my mind and what's going to happen next week. And you get to drive it, right? I ask questions. I literally have a Q&A session every single solitary week. I think that that would probably make me the most accessible lieutenant governor in history because I have every intention of continuing the practice once we take back our capital. So that being said, hope you have your cup of coffee. I have mine, which, by the way, is a fine coffee from Prasik Smokehouse. Right? If you guys don't know where that is, it's become one of my new favorite stops while I'm on the road. Right there on I-10. I don't even know specifically where. I think exit 718. Right? I think I've been there so much I know. Exit 718. So. They have their own branded coffee, and it is really, really, really good. And I want to thank those guys for being so kind to me as I have paid them multiple visits as of late. And if I had to recommend anything, I would recommend, if you go in the morning, the Brisket breakfast tacos. You want to talk about hitting the spot, man. That brisket is so tender, you don't even know it's there other than the taste. It is incredible. So before we get started, let me go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping. Excuse me. As usual, chat is active. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I think Twitch aggregates there as well. And of course, we're broadcasting on Rumble tonight, but I don't think Rumble brings it over. But if you are there watching on any of those, if you chat with us, leave a comment or whatever, it aggregates all over in this little window. And Kara is feeling much better. Thank you to everyone who asked. She got sick after I did, and man, she had a rough go of it. So she's back tonight. She's going to be moderating. And, you got questions, drop them in the chat. Do our dead level best to get to them AP as we can. We can't always hit all of them, but a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on my YouTube channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because as we get new videos, we post them and you want to be notified. And thank you to everyone who's done that. I can tell because there are some of you out there that as soon as we post videos, you're commenting on it, you're doing, you're sharing the link, you're doing that. And excuse me, I am very appreciative of that. And of course, if you're watching on the TNM's YouTube channel, not only do you need to like and subscribe over there and hit that notification bell, but Super Chat is active. So if you make a contribution in Super Chat, it goes straight to the TNM, the leading advocacy organization for Texas independence. And, I love it. I love our organization. I love the family that we are. So be a part of it. Help support our mission. Let's get that done. If you're watching on Facebook, like, comment, share, like, comment, share. If you're watching this on Twitter, be sure to retweet this. Let's get it out there. And that's the thing. I'm just going to tell you, hang on. I even made a little caption for it to remind everyone, share the live stream, right? Because this is a major communication tool for us to directly contact the people of Texas and frankly around the world to talk about the issues of Texas and Texas independence, talk about the campaign. And we cover a lot of ground, a lot of it because we're in the evening. A lot of it is replay action. So, but people are up and about, and let's be honest, everyone right now is watching the weather. As we have cold weather move in, and everyone is quite nervous because they don't believe Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick's assertion that they made during the legislative session that the grid is fixed, that we're all hunky-dory, nobody has any power issues to worry about. And the vast majority of us understand that they were, they've been pretty much asleep at the wheel, right? The only reason they're doing anything is because they sincerely believe that they are in a lot of trouble. And we're actually going to talk about that tonight. So share. Okay, so let's get down to it. How about that? Oh, one thing, as we're starting, I saw some chatter before we went live of people saying, "Look, donate to the campaign," and that is very much appreciated. I see some of you have already done that. So here's what I'm going to do. I have combos, TEXIT Now cups. Remember these mugs, and copies of the TEXIT book. The next 5 people, because I have 5 packets of these, the next 5 people that donate $100 or more to the campaign at this link right here, I'm going to send you a TEXIT Now mug, and I'm going to send you a personalized, autographed copy of the TEXIT book, right? Going to make it out straight to you, going to have it autographed. And these things are, normally when I sign them, I just kind of have to sign them in bulk. I don't get a chance to really personalize them. But we need campaign contributions right now more than ever. And I'm going to explain why that is here in just a moment. But if you want to get a jump start, I wanted to share that. DMCDonate.com. That is DMCDonate.com. And I have the little notification thing over here. So I know Kara's watching it. She's on it too. The next 5 or the first 5, right? Get in there, you get the combo pack, $100 or more. And if you can't give $100, I completely understand. So anything helps, $5, $10, whatever it is, right? But we have got a massive, massive opportunity. And so I'm gonna set the lay of the land for you right now, because this has been I don't even know how to describe the kind of week that we've had since I was with you last. Okay. So as you know, a part of going out there and engaging the statewide campaign is participating in a ton of candidate events and forums, right? And forgive me, people. It's not that I'm distracted. I'm just trying to pull something up because I want to make sure that I'm telling you correctly on the timeline here. So last week, and you guys know that I did a coffee talk from Waco because I was not back home, but there was there was a lot of travel, right? So we started out Monday at the Lost Pines Republican Women Candidate Forum, okay? And part of that was, lots and lots of candidates. They had us all in a bullpen, but one of the things that you're gonna find out, and probably you don't know. Here's a little inside baseball about how this stuff works. We had a minute to intro ourselves, 1 minute, and then they gave us 3 questions, and we had 30 seconds to answer those questions, and then that was it, right? So Nederland to Bastrop for 2.5 minutes of then we had a 1 minute outro, so 3.5 minutes, right? So Nederland to Bastrop, 3.5 minutes. Okay. Well, then we had a phenomenal conversation with, and I think I talked about this last week, but I had a meeting with San Antonio Express News editorial board about the candidacy. Then I had a visit with Terry Hall over at TURF, Texas United for Reform and Freedom, that work on the transportation issues. And I do believe that they're going to be making an endorsement announcement very soon. But Terry Hall, and let me go ahead and say this. Thank you, Michael, for your contribution. Thank you. Mug, book, on its way to you. But while I was talking to Terry Hall about transportation issues, the proliferation of toll roads and those things, she hit me with a piece of information. I do believe that I shared it with you guys Wednesday night about how Texas taxpayers are on the hook for Mexican drivers that use toll roads because toll operators have no mechanism to charge drivers from Mexico tolls. And the Texas taxpayers, the Texas government is actually contractually on the hook to the toll operators for unpaid tolls. So your tax money is going to pay for the use of Mexican drivers on our toll roads. But that's a whole other thing. We're going to be posting an article about that on the website. But it's explosive. I mean, there's so many issues surrounding transportation that just have not been touched in this election cycle. And it's like this unseen thing that people just don't want to acknowledge, politicians in particular. And there's probably a good bit of that is because I think there perhaps might be some politician profit in there, whether it's campaign contributions or something on the other side, roundy round money. We don't know, right? That's not Terry's words. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there is some other motivation that's out there. We don't know what it is, but we look forward to uncovering it. Excuse me. But that night we had a candidate debate in Van Zant County, which is up there in Canton. Got to visit with Representative Brian Slayton. There's actually a picture on the website of Brian and I. Got to visit with Chad Prather. But Brian and I talked about a couple of different issues, right? As many of you know, Brian was one of the ones who signed on to Kyle Biederman's House Bill 1359, the Texas Independence Referendum Act. And so Brian and I talked about some strategy moving forward in the next legislative session. And not from Brian, but it was at that particular event that I began to hear some scuttlebutt about where Dan Patrick thinks he is in the polls and why he's in a high panic. And I wanted more details, but it was not an appropriate time. And again, like I said, it wasn't from Slayton; it was from someone else that was there. And I don't do the hearsay thing very well. You take information and you measure it, and you say, okay, does this make sense in the context of other information that we have? So filed it away, as I often do. And then the next day, I had my interview for those of you, and I talked about this Wednesday night, my interview with Texas Scorecard, which will be, as someone put in chat earlier, will be released sometime next week. Great interview. Then I did my candidate Zoom with Joanne Fleming and the organization over there, Grassroots America, We the People. And I think it went fine. I mean, we talked TEXIT, we talked budgets, we talked about fiscal responsibility. I mean, we talked about a ton of things. So good conversation. Don't know if they're going to endorse or not, but I appreciated the opportunity. But then what you don't know is we make the hop from Waco over to Navarre County, right? So Corsicana. Now, Corsicana, the Navarre County Republican Party was going to have a candidate for them. We show up and they say, sorry, you didn't respond. You can't participate. And we said, oh, but we did, because we have our act together, right? We don't show up to somewhere unless we're confirmed. Well, sure enough, they wanted to, we pulled up, Daphne was there. She got with Kara. They pulled up the email, showed the confirmation, and the confirmation showed that we confirmed almost immediately, like within 48 hours after we received the email, right? So we confirmed, we took care of our business. Okay, cool. Well, if you want to come in, you got to pay $50. Okay, fine. Here's your $50. I get it. Things cost money. Here's your $50. I don't mind. Well, I'm sorry, but because we weren't expecting you, you don't have a table. But you're welcome to stay. Okay, well, not a problem. Good thing we got a table in the back of the vehicle, right? Dan makes sure that we have everything, like literally everything. So we had a table. So went and got the table. Got the table, got it set up, did all of our stuff. And then when it came time for the lieutenant governor candidates, it was just myself and Tracy Bradford there. They said, okay, great. You have 15 seconds for an intro. And unfortunately, because we weren't expecting either one of you, we have no questions. So we're calculating $50, just the 50, not including travel and all that other stuff, $50, 15 seconds. How much is that per second of time? Well, good news. The moderator that they had, and I can't remember, he might have been a county commissioner, city council member, whatever it was. He came up with 3 questions on the fly, for which we had 15 to 30 seconds to answer each question, with no wrap up. So it was like all of that, $50, 15 seconds, then 3 more questions, maybe a total of a minute if you were to cumulative answers, right? With no outro. Well, yours truly, having a sense of humor, and understanding sometimes things just go wonky, right? As I'm walking off stage, the announcer, the host, excuse me, is mentioning our names, and he can't remember my name. And he's looking at his sheet of paper and he can't find it. So he's like, and he says, Tracy Bradford and I lean down to him and I whisper, Jack Johnson. And he's like, Jack Johnson. You got to have fun, folks. You got to have fun. So anyway, worked the rest of the event, met some fantastic people there, though. Man, we had some great volunteers that came out. Robin McGraw was there. Chris Powell was there. Jay Vandiver, district director, was out there. It was just a heck of an event. Met a radio station owner there. Additionally, met the owner of the venue, which was at the Corsicana Opry House, which is this phenomenal historic building. Beautiful music venue, restored, tons and tons of history. And I'm going to encourage every one of you, if you get over to Corsicana, take an opportunity to head over to the Corsicana Opry House. That place is phenomenal, and you just got to go meet the fine people there. As a matter of fact, Carolyn, if you're watching, I have your card right here. I have your card. Phenomenal time, phenomenal opportunity. Okay, a couple more donations have come in, so thank you to Chris and thank you to Jeremy. Thank you guys so very much. Two more out the door. We've got 2 left to book and TEXIT Now mug combos, personalized TEXIT book, and a TEXIT Now mug. We got 2 left, so make sure you get it in. So we move on from that, and that was. For us, that this has been pretty indicative of kind of the way this is working with the statewide campaigns, right? We have to remember we're in one of the, if not the most challenged primary election in Texas history, right? I mean, every office for the most part is being challenged, and there's not just one alternative to the incumbent. These races are extremely competitive, right? I mean, you've got tons of these things, tons of candidates in each of the races. So, it's important that we understand that. Hang on just one second, as I'm going to flash this up there for you. Just go look at this website, which is taketexasback.com. That's the website for the TNM's PAC, and you're going to see a list of candidates that have taken the Texas First pledge, right? And when you look, there's over 60 candidates already on there, and more to come. And many of those are already office holders, either statewide, legislatively, State Board of Education, whatever it is. So it's been interesting, and I understand the logistical issues, but part of the challenge is, and I'm pretty sure that many of the people that are running for office right now would agree, particularly on the statewide side of things, that it's almost impossible to connect in a meaningful way with voters on who you are, the kind of person you are, your work history, your experience, your thoughts on the policies, in these very short spans of time, right? 15 seconds. Literally, both Tracy and I said that this was mine. My name is Daniel Miller, and I'm a candidate for Lieutenant Governor of the state of Texas. And she said, and I'm Tracy, she says, I'm Tracy Bradford, and I'm a candidate for Lieutenant Governor of the state of Texas. I mean, that literally is all you can have. So how can you have meaningful dialogue or discussions with the electorate if you're like, okay, well, tell me about your 25 years of activism and you have 90 seconds to do it? How does that work? So we're forced to connect in other ways, right? During, before these events, after these events, visiting with these voters one-on-one. And so, look, if you go look at our calendar right now and you go look at the events right there, DanielOMiller.com/events. You'll go see all of our events. We're doing plenty of them, but we are getting ready as our campaign and as part of something that's happening with the TNM's PAC and some other PACs that are signing on to help out. We're getting ready to offer Texas voters a unique and unprecedented opportunity. Piggybacking off of our governor's virtual town hall, we're about to give some virtual opportunity for voters across the entire state to get to know these candidates in real meaningful ways and learn more about who they are, what their policies are, where they stand on particular issues, and perhaps interact with some questions. And it's going to be a big undertaking. Think when you hear about telephone town halls, think about that, but to the power of 10 across a broad spectrum. So it's going to be a phenomenal thing because our intention is to literally invite every voter in Texas that is interested in that particular race to participate in the virtual event. So it's going to be awesome. I've got a call as soon as this is over with, and we're going to get some final details hammered out, but it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity, unlike anyone has experienced across a broad range of candidates. So to all of my fellow Texas First candidates, that are on the TNM slate over there, we're looking forward to giving you this opportunity to be able to connect with voters in a real and meaningful way. And so, as we're going around statewide and we're talking to rooms of candidates, like one event we did had 80 people in it. There were about 35 of them that were candidates. You're going to get to talk to not 100, 200, 300, but talk to potentially tens, if not hundreds of thousands of candidates all in one fell swoop, depending on the size. If you're in a House district, your number is going to be smaller. But if you're a statewide candidate, your reach is going to be much, much larger. So important thing that we're doing here, and just super happy to be a part of it. Super happy that our campaign is going to do some of the guinea pig work. And we got a lot going on. So that being said, moving right along, Saturday, as many of you know, we had a group of volunteers at the Trump rally in Conroe. And initially we heard there was going to be like 5,000 to 10,000 people there. Well, some estimates put it somewhere north of 50,000. Somebody says 80,000. I think the county officials have come out and given some figure between those two, but it was a massive amount of people. And our volunteers were there to let people know that there is an alternative to Dan Patrick, because this has been part and parcel of the problem, right? With our campaign, we have to connect with hundreds of thousands of voters in a very short amount of time. And while Dan Patrick is not particularly popular as a lieutenant governor for a whole lot of reasons, the challenge is that the vast majority of Texas voters are unaware that there are alternatives and that we're the number one alternative, right? So connecting with as many voters as possible in the shortest amount of time is important. Why one of the reasons I solicited donations at the very beginning of this, because we've got a text campaign that we've got to run. We need to get up on TV, right? We need to be running TV ads in some of these markets because Dan Patrick just did a statewide TV buy. Now, I say that because it's important, and I want you to file that away, and we're going to talk about it here in a minute. But I got to give a salute to all of the volunteers that came in from across the state to talk about our campaign and to introduce our campaign to those tens of thousands of people that were there at that rally. I cannot express to you the level of appreciation that I have for the love and support that you've shown. It's truly, truly humbling. And any of those of you who are close to me know that sort of thing, it makes me uncomfortable, right? I don't understand it, because at the end of the day, I don't know that I've done anything that particularly special, right? But you guys inspire me. If it weren't for you, I don't know. I would never have thrown in the towel, but you guys make this enjoyable and exciting. And I'm just proud to be on this journey with all of you. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for showing this level of support, because you may not realize it yet, but on Saturday you crushed it. You hit a home run. And not only did we have volunteers there, we had Carrie Barron down, who went down to McAllen, down to the border, who was repping for the campaign. I mean, it was just incredible. And let me do this, or Paul Roby will strangle me. If you would like to volunteer for the campaign, head over to danielomiller.com/volunteer. I'm going to leave this on the screen for the duration of my discussion about this. But you guys went out there. Claver, our campaign manager, chief advisor to me in the TNM, Claver stayed on the bullhorn for like 10 hours, just talking about what we're about, talking about Dan Patrick's campaign. And I'm going to tell you, I actually got an email from someone who was upset that we were exposing Dan Patrick's record at that event, and have become upset over the fact that we do an awful lot of talking about Dan Patrick's record. And for me, I kind of find it strange. I kind of find it unbelievable, because if you're not given a reason to remove your support from the incumbent, then why would you do that, right? If their record is so solid, we wouldn't want to change, right? If Dan Patrick was strong on the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, I probably wouldn't be running. If he would have opened his mouth and stood up for the people of Texas during the lockdowns, probably wouldn't be running, right? If he would have honored his commitments to secure the border and reduce property taxes, we may not even be having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is, he has a record. And I said it at the very beginning of this campaign, is that it's me running for lieutenant governor and Dan Patrick running against Dan Patrick. What he said, what he did, and what he didn't do, right? So that being said, understand, we're not gonna soften up on his record, because we can't afford to. Too many people are being exposed to the rhetoric, and I want to explain to you what I mean. Okay, so let me turn this off real quick, and I am going to, let me do this. So we released a video. There was a snippet he did after he gave his speech at the Trump rally, which, by the way, as I said to many people, elicited the amount of enthusiasm generally reserved for a colonoscopy or a tax audit. He went on Newsmax and gave an interview. And in that interview, let's see if we can find it here. This is what he said.
Should not have shut down. Texas didn't shut down.
Nope.
And we kept going, and that's why we have a great, strong economy.
He made the claim that Texas didn't shut down when Fauci and the CDC said shut down and Abbott said shut down. He's claiming it never happened. And you'd be surprised at the people that believe that it didn't shut down. And maybe for some people it did. Maybe it was life as usual, right? But for the vast majority of Texans who were shut out of their churches, who were shut out of their businesses, almost 20% of Texas businesses closed down because of the lockdowns, never to return, right? There was a lockdown. We were shut down. But yet, here he is saying,
should not have shut down. Texas didn't shut down.
Nope.
And we kept going, and that's why we have a great, strong economy.
It beggars belief. I mean, you just can't make it up. So that's why making sure that our volunteers are out there and that we're raising money, and why we've got to get up on TV, is super important. But it was also that day, particularly where I was that morning, which was I was at a Texas Federation of Republican Women Leadership Conference working at a table and with other candidates and other people. And here's what I heard. I heard from someone who is deep inside that Dan Patrick is absolutely scared to death. It is at this point in his mind, and in the mind of many others, that he and I will end up in a runoff after March the 1st. So what he's going to do is he is going to try to smother Texas with TV and radio and digital media. That's what he's wanting to do. It's one of the reasons that he's not showing up anywhere, right? I played a video at the very beginning of this before we even started talking about how he hasn't shown up to a single candidate event, not one, because he will not stand on the stage and face questions about his record. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you about him? Right? He's doing the same thing that Greg Abbott did, and Abbott has been scolded, right? There was an op-ed written in the Midland newspaper where Abbott declined to be in a candidate forum with his other challengers because of some kind of conflict. However, he could hold his own event in Midland on the same day, right? So Abbott is the same way. I mean, Patrick is the same way. He's running and hiding. And look, if he thinks this is new for me, it's not. In 2012, when I ran against Alan Ritter, the one time he showed up to a candidate event, I could not be there, but Claver was there as the campaign surrogate. And Claver embarrassed the guy in front of God and everybody by exposing his voting record, right? That is what Dan Patrick doesn't want. So his strategy is to hope that he can smother the electorate with enough BS that they will believe that they will buy it. And voters out there who do not know that there is an alternative or a choice other than Dan Patrick will go into the voting booth, see the name they recognize, and select it, as opposed to a name that they don't. So it's imperative that we raise the money to get on TV, to get on radio, and to increase our digital presence. Because it is, at this point, we have a shot. Now, if you think that that's even the end of it, it's not. You see, because that wasn't the end of the week, right? I got to come home on Sunday, and then I got to go to Hallettsville Monday night and speak with the great folks over there, where I had been literally 10 months and 2 days previous, talking about TEXIT, talking about the Texas Independence Referendum Act, and just meeting with those phenomenal people. Becky Berger over there, all those people have been phenomenal. They've been great supporters. Many of them joined the TNM and are working with us on TEXIT. So it was a great event. Got to meet a lot of fine people, a lot of great got to spend some time with candidates. But that's where I found out another interesting piece of information, which is, without a doubt, Dan Patrick, and I will paraphrase, but almost a quote, Dan Patrick is crapping bricks. He is he's beyond it. By this point, it's more than almost certain. He is anticipating a runoff between the two of us, right? So we just have to get there. We just have to get there. We have to increase our numbers. So they also know that a runoff favors the challenger, not the incumbent. So we've got a lot of work to do, right? I mean, phenomenal news. And like even today, I got great news. I've got an endorsement coming that's it's going to blow people away. When they see the endorsement, they're going to freak out. This is going to be the dividing line that says, okay, boom, this endorsement is huge. This comes from a place of credibility of someone who believes that Daniel Miller can be our next lieutenant governor and should be. So be on the lookout for that. Let me do this too. Let me pause, take a break. Man, you guys are pounding the questions. But hey, let me go ahead and send a big thank you. Oh, that was it. 1, 2, 4, 5. All right. So there we go. Kevin and Joe got the last two, but here's the deal. Michael, I'm going to find you something because you slid in like just a couple of minutes late, but we're going to get you squared away. I'm going to get you taken care of. So thank you guys so very much for the contributions. Man, we're going to win this thing. We're literally in the position to go win this thing when everyone said that there was not a snowball's chance in Hades, you people believed that all political power is inherent in the people, and we're going to show them how powerful we are. So thank you all so very much. Wow, I'm humbled. And look, I'm about to get to your questions, I promise, because there are a slew of them. But I want to continue this on. So we got a lot coming up. Had an interview this afternoon. Actually had one with Kerrville Daily Times yesterday. Had one with Libertarian Podcast up in New Hampshire. And I had a very long conversation with Elliot Axelman, who is the chairman of the Committee for New Hampshire Independence, and got a little scuttlebutt from what's going on up there. I think we're going to do a special broadcast. I'm just going to have him on, and we're going to have that conversation. If you think some of the politicians here are knuckleheaded and recalcitrant, wait till Elliot tells you the story of the rep that got up there at a committee hearing on their independence bill and lied and threatened effectively to have all of the people who voted for it arrested. Oh, it's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. So, look, we've got a lot of campaign events coming up. Let me flash these up here before I get to your questions. Oh, and by the way, the next time you see me in this office doing a coffee talk, it is going to be a solid hour, and it's going to be titled The People versus Dan Patrick. And I'm going to take a full hour, and I'm going to deconstruct Dan Patrick's voting record. And you will be able to point any voter to that voting record, to his record in the Senate, to his record as a lieutenant governor, and help them understand why that this is the most important election that they could ever imagine. So just be prepared. So a couple things. If you'd like to make a donation, head over to dmcdonate.com. Anything helps, right? And frankly, and we've said this before on a campaign finance report, $1,005 contributions is a lot better in some instances than a single $5,000 contribution. But alas, whatever it takes, right? Whatever you could do, we really need your help. Every penny counts, and you guys know we are super good at stretching the dollar, right? So again, if you would like to volunteer, we're looking for field volunteers right now. Our field director, he is out there setting up block walking events, tabling, and we got a short amount of time. Look, early voting starts in 12 days. February 14th, early voting starts. So go volunteer, spend some time, help us with our peer-to-peer text campaign, our phone banking campaigns, our block walking, help us with our events and tabling, whatever you can do, right? And catch up with us on these events. Going to be in Lubbock coming up on Saturday and Midland on Sunday. So if you are up at the Panhandle or out in West Texas, come out. These are not events for other organizations. These are our events that were set up by Sarah Burnett with Texas Earth is her business, but she is also with Ag Women Connect. She's one of the co-founders. She helped us set this thing up in Lubbock, so make sure you get it. And I get to go see my daughter, right? She lives up there. And then Midland, our good friends over at, and again, it's not an official event for the Oil and Gas Workers Association, but one of our good friends over there set the event up for us. And so we're going to be over there. So Midland, Odessa, Lubbock, get out there, go to danielomiller.com/events, get all the details, and come on out and see us. We'll have campaign signs, campaign stickers, and, give you some opportunity to ask a bunch of questions and finally get a great opportunity to talk about all the issues in their entirety. It's nice. Honestly, at this point, I could probably do it in 30 seconds because I've had so much practice, but it'll be nice to have a much longer conversation. All right. So we got that done. So what do you say we get some questions? You guys in? I'm in. It's coffee talk, and there's been more talk than coffee. All right. Let us get down to it. Whew. Have mercy. That's weird. Somebody said that. Felt like I spilled something on myself. It's very unusual. All right. So here we go. Frank from YouTube has a question. He says, of the 3 governor candidates, which is the most pro-Texit? Great question. I would suggest going and looking at some of the clips that we have, right? They have all answered in the affirmative that they support a vote. And to a certain extent, their remarks beyond that show some support for Texit. Don Huffines maybe less than the other 2. Prather has been I would say, the strongest vocal proponent, not just for a Texit vote, but for Texit, in its entirety. Alan West has been very clear that if the people of Texas vote for it, he will absolutely stay on top of it. He will absolutely support it and help make it happen. Don has said that give him 2 years and he'll make Texas so sovereign we won't even think about Texas. So that's what I know, and it's about the quickest answer I can give you. Clark on YouTube says, Daniel, as Lieutenant Governor, will you push a bill outlawing out-of-state contributions? Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, it was a priority of the TNM. Legislative priority 2 sessions back. We started advocating for it. There actually is a video on my YouTube channel on the website talking specifically about a ban on out-of-state contributions. And it's something that I've talked about, and I will tell you that it was super controversial up until the Attorney General got slapped down by our own courts and said that local DAs are the only ones who can prosecute election fraud. And everybody started making the connection that George Soros for years has been donating big money into DA races and effectively controls the district attorney's offices in all the major cities. So it's a big deal, right? So for me, a ban on out-of-state contributions is not a campaign finance issue. It's a state sovereignty issue, right? We don't let people in Russia or China or Mexico or any other foreign country donate to campaigns, right? To play in our political elections. And frankly, we shouldn't let people from California and New York and Washington, D.C. and other places play in our elections either. It's a state sovereignty issue. And if we're going to have Texas elections for Texas candidates where Texas voters are the ones who have their say, then we don't have any business allowing money to flow in from Hollywood and Manhattan and K Street in Washington, D.C. Gary says, I trade futures for a living. When we leave the union, will I be able to make a living trading on the exchange? Yes or no? Sure. I mean, that, people do that all the time. So that doesn't change. Just because Texas becomes a self-governing independent nation doesn't mean that we have to forego things like our own stock exchange. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even, I think, 2 years ago that representatives from NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange were actually down here in Texas, and there was serious discussion about them relocating to Texas. If you haven't figured it out yet, Dallas-Fort Worth is the financial heart of Texas, right? That's the heart of financial services is in Dallas. There is so much money related to financial services and that sort of aspect of things in Dallas. It is obscene. It's just a phenomenal place for that. So I can't think of a better place than Dallas-Fort Worth for that to be. I mean, let's go. It's called a stock exchange, right? And we have the Fort Worth stockyards. Make the connection, right? Okay, so Bobby on Facebook, he says, as an elected official, what would your mission be? My mission would be to fulfill the duties of the Constitution that are specified, right? Let me just scrub it, right? And let me just say this, and it gets down to the fundamental viewpoint of what government's role is. And the government's role is to protect the liberty and freedom of its citizens, right? To protect the life, liberty, and property of its citizens. That is the fundamental role of government. And as someone who is elected to an elected position, it is to do those things, to adhere to the Constitution, right? And then ultimately to respect the will of the voters, right? To respect the will of the people of Texas. That's the role. Article 1, Section 2 is very plain. So that's my mission. And I say this, people ask, why did you run against Dan Patrick? And I say, look, it's quite simple. Yes, I was asked, but I have a 3-point litmus test for whether or not an incumbent deserves a vote. Number one, did they adhere to the Constitution? Number two, did they do what they promised that they would do? And number three, did they respect the wishes of the people who voted for them and put them in office? And across all three of those, Dan Patrick failed. So my goal would be to make sure that I don't fail on any of those three. And let me just say this because I missed this too. Tim Curtis, thank you so much for your contribution. Man, oh man, Tim was going to do a phenomenal thing for us up there in Denton County for the Lincoln Reagan dinner. And then it did not happen, but Tim is a stalwart, man. He is a dyed-in-the-wool Texas nationalist. He's our district director up there, and he fights the good fight every single solitary day. So, Tim, thank you very much. And you know what? I'm going to get you squared away too. You know what? I can get a couple more of these. I will get you something for that, but you got in ahead of the game, man. That's early. Okay. Lou on YouTube says, can we replace the old House Bill 1359, my legislators section of the TNM website with my candidates showing who is part of the Take Texas Back slate? Right now, I'm sure that can happen. Nate, if you're watching, let's get that on the punch list. Let's get that on the site. But right now, if you want to know who those candidates are, head over to taketexasback.com. That's taketexasback.com. And we updated as candidate pledges come in, boom, they go up there, right? So taketexasback.com. You'll find statewide candidates, legislative candidates, and local candidates. And if you have a favorite candidate and they have not signed that pledge, dog them until they do, right? Have them get it done. And one of the things that I heard from one of the candidates was they were impressed with the fact that as part of the pledge, before they even make the acknowledgments on the parts of the pledge, we asked them to submit to us their understanding of Article 1, Section 1 and Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. Because if they don't fundamentally understand that, their pledge on the rest of it is kind of meaningless, right? And we've had some that the plug got pulled on because their essay question was not sufficient. So it kind of forces them to read Article 1, Sections 1 and 2. Okay, so all right, Willie's getting ready to move from New York to Texas, where he shares our values, and his values are our values, and they're appreciated here. And he says, "God bless Texas." Willie, come home. This is your new home. And for people who are wondering, I see several questions here about my stance on various issues. If you go to my website at danielomiller.com and click issues, boom, they're all there. And we're fleshing it out every single solitary day. We've got one that's getting ready to go up dealing specifically with transportation because we're getting asked about that a lot. But it's all there. What you're going to find every bit of it. Thomas on YouTube says, when is there going to be an LG debate? I don't know that there is, right? We allegedly had one. The one in Van Zandt County was slated as a debate, but it really wasn't one. We've had candidate forums, but they've not been in a debate format. It's just been, okay, opening statement, here's a question, everybody, you got time to answer it, then closing statements. I mean, that's how it goes. So I don't know that there's going to be an actual debate, but there have been plenty of candidate forums. Not as many as we'd like with as much time as we'd like to have. But in those videos, if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see there's I think we have. I know we have Cook County on there. I think we have Cook County. We have a couple of them on there. But of course, Dan Patrick doesn't show up to any of them, so he's running scared. Okay. I'm going to skip to this one. Alberto wants to know, do you prefer blue cheese or ranch? It really depends on what it's with. If it's on a salad, I pretty much prefer blue cheese. And as you can see, I answer every question that I possibly can. Okay, so William on YouTube says, I see Miss Bradford. Now, you're talking about Tracy Bradford. She's one of the other candidates for lieutenant governor. She's a phenomenal lady, has some great experience. But he says, I see Miss Bradford's objection to TEXIT is that we would be under the same state government that we are under now. I know this isn't true, but I'm having difficulty explaining why. Could you explain? I tell you what, I'm going to do better. I'm going to find out what's happening there. Okay. I am going to play you a video that's posted on our YouTube channel that came from an article that I wrote a long time ago. And Will Casey, our resident video guru, said it. And so I'm going to let this answer. Hope you guys don't mind.
Man, you see what's going on in Washington, D.C. these days? That place is definitely a political swamp. You're starting to hear things coming out of Austin. It just makes me wonder, if Texas gets its independence, how are we going to prevent the same thing from happening here? I mean, what's to keep us from getting electile dysfunction?
One of the main issues driving Texans to seek independence is how dysfunctional, and in some cases, downright dishonest, our legislature in Washington has become. A recent Pew Public Trust survey puts it pretty plainly. Public trust in the government remains near historic lows. Only 17% of Americans today say they can trust the government in Washington to do what is right just about always, 3%, or most of the time, 14%. A June 2019 University of Texas Tribune survey said about the same thing. Only 24% of Texans hold a favorable view of the federal government. However, sometimes things happen even in Austin that make us want to question if that's just the way it is in politics. While corruption in politics is something we always should be on the lookout for, there are several factors that weigh in favor of an independent Texas. Something that's not well known is that a majority of legislation in Texas is driven solely by the federal government. Surprised? In the last session alone, nearly half of all the bills filed in Texas directly referenced federal law, federal regulations, federal agencies, or federal court rulings. Even more were filed in response to federal bills to make Texas compliant with them. Many people think Texas gets a lot of financial assistance from the federal government. In reality, this is not the case. Texas sends a lot more to the federal government than we get in return, your hard-earned money. After the feds take out their 40% membership fee, they dangle enticements in front of the Texas legislature as a reward for their loyalty. Much of our state policy directions are unnecessarily set just to be in compliance with federal laws or mandates. Think of the additional expense this causes. As an independent Texas, we would be able to set our own direction and create policies that are a perfect fit for us. Also, all that money that's currently going to Washington would stay here to be used to improve the lives of Texans. It's a natural tendency for some to treat a state-elected office as a stepping stone to what they think are bigger and better things. A shot at federal politics. It's almost like they're contestants on a game show, just hoping to make it through to the next round. Often, the things they say and the policy decisions they make are influenced by how much of an audience they will get outside of Texas. They want wider exposure so they can get their 15 minutes of fame also outside of Texas. With an independent Texas, the elected offices here would be the ultimate goal. They would spend all their efforts on making sure the people of Texas are satisfied with the job they're doing.
What do you think about the job Congress is doing in Washington?
Most people have definite opinions on what the federal government is doing these days. Normally, it's disapproval over something. like how they're handling health care or taxes.
How about the property tax reform they were working on in the Texas legislature?
Texans are distracted. We are flooded with news out of Washington, D.C., so our attention is drawn away from smaller issues here at home. Those who stay engaged on state and local issues know this frustration. Low engagement by your fellow citizens makes it easy for elected officials to just brush off your issues because they're not hearing from that many Texans about them. This distraction plays out at the polls as well. With everyone focused on the federal government, even to the point of listing federal offices at the top of the ballot, little to no attention is paid to the down-ballot races. In addition, general dissatisfaction with the federal government leads to disillusioned voters who simply give up and don't vote. With an independent Texas, the distraction of a dysfunctional federal government is gone. Our government would now be the one closest to home, here in Texas. Imagine how people would feel about voting if they actually could make a difference and be involved. It's a hard truth, but it is true. Politics runs on money. You can hate it, you can deny it, but it's the way things work. As part of the United States, political contributions that flow into Texas from outside of Texas are treated just the same as contributions from Texans. Every special interest from the other 49 states starts writing checks to curry favor and get or keep their man in office. These contributions from outside of Texas give the big advantage to incumbents and a major disadvantage to those who would challenge the political establishment. When TEXIT happens, all that comes to a screeching halt. Donations from outside of Texas will be foreign, and Texas would never allow political contributions from foreign entities. There is no doubt that removing the federal government from the equation should produce better government at home. Independence gives us an opportunity to create a government that is responsive to our needs, meets our challenges, and is the size that we want. To get what we want, we're going to have to be willing to do what it takes to get there. Shouting into the social media echo chamber isn't going to cut it. Outrage on its own is not enough to win the day. Neither is inaction. The way to win is to break the status quo and show your representatives that you're onto them and need to support those who are willing to be accountable for their stance on Texas independence. We have to get out there and work together to shatter the hold of the old political class. Are you ready to get in the fight? Come join with the many like-minded folks at the Texas Nationalist Movement. More information is available online at thetnm.org.
You know, I just love watching that video. Will, let me just say, you did a great job. And look, I think that's the way that you got to look at it. So, you know, William, that's the thing. I mean, if you're having difficulty explaining why, I think it's important to understand how, for that person you're explaining it to understand how much of our politics here is influenced by our relationship within the federal system, right? And how much of that discourse is controlled by factors that are not Texas. So you remove that part of the equation, and things begin to align a lot better. I mean, imagine these incumbents running for elected office without a steady flow of money coming from outside of Texas, right? Or no longer having to worry about whether or not you're electing someone whose sights are set really on a federal office for Congress or U.S. Senate or even president. And the only constituents that they are responsible to placate are the ones here in Texas. I mean, those things alone change the dynamic. The fact that we no longer have almost half of legislation filed in our House of Representatives or our Senate being written because of something the federal government has done, said, or mandated, all of a sudden that means that there's a shift in priorities, right? And then imagine what happens when we have that $103 to $160 billion annual overpayment back in our pockets. So it changes everything. And I've said this time and time again. There is I heard one of our competitors, one of the other candidates said this in an editorial board meeting is, we can't be here with the same leadership. Well, the fact of the matter is the work to get a vote on TEXIT is exactly the same kind of work that completely rips the political establishment up by the roots, and that's why they fight against it. And that, my friends, is why Dan Patrick is freaking out that he's going to be in a runoff with yours truly, right? I mean, in a million years, he never would have seen this coming because they are that arrogant, they have that much hubris, and they don't believe in you. Otherwise, they would have given the TEXIT question to you on the ballot, right? But they don't believe in you. So what I love is taking this power of the people and breaking the back of these guys. And, we're going to go in there and win it, right? I'm running to be your champion. All of those Take Texas Back candidates, all of those Texas First candidates, they're running to be your champion, to represent you, to give you a voice in your capital again. That's why we're doing this. And I got to tell you, I am so doggone excited. I'm excited. I have been, since I got that news today, and there was another piece of news that I can't share because it would burn a source, but I'm telling you, Abbott and Patrick and the rest of the political class, political establishment are in absolute teetotal panic. And how do you know? Because they are spending campaign cash, lots of it, because they think that they are about to lose. And you know what? I think we're about to make truth tellers out of them. So let's go win this thing, okay? All right. Well, look, I'm a few minutes over, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I see there's some questions that I didn't get to, and I'm super sorry. There was one, but it was just the explanation would take a long time. So Andrea on Facebook, if you want to email that in, just go ahead and email it in, and I'll answer you offline, or just ding me with it next week. But in the meantime, I know that we've got some pretty terrible weather moving in, and so everyone, please stay warm. Make sure you got plenty of food and water. Just in case we have some of those power issues like we had a year ago. And I really hope it's not the case, but much like many of my fellow Texans, I don't have a lot of confidence in the leadership of the state to make sure that things like what happened last year don't happen again. So that being said, just a quick reminder, of course, that last video was from the TNM, and so I want to encourage you, if you are not a member of the Texas Nationalist Movement, head over to tnm.me/join, become a member today. And then, of course, if you have any TEXIT questions, you can get answers at texitnow.org. That's texitnow.org, or pick up a copy of the book TEXIT. If you get it on the TNM website, 100% of the proceeds go to the work of the TNM. If you get it off the campaign site, proceeds go toward the campaign account. Or if you get it on Amazon, proceeds go to launching Jeff Bezos back into space again. So just bear that in mind. All right. It is time that we wrap this bad boy. Oh yeah, I forgot. By the way, if you're not following me on social media, head over. You can follow me on Twitter, Getter, Gab, Facebook, pretty much LinkedIn, pretty much everything. I am the Texian DM. That is the Texian DM. Find me there. Let's connect up on social, and let's spread the good news that there is a new day dawning. There is a change coming, long overdue, and we're going to take Texas back. So I will leave you with the words that I leave you with every single solitary week, and they are the words of Sam Houston. when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.